All right, so we've been left off here on the third, remembering that a major third means the third is the third note of the scale. Major should tell us the distance in half steps, but it doesn't for most people on the guitar because we kind of lose that. Therefore, I'm going to actually say that it's 4 notes away, a 4-note away major third, the third being the defining factor, once again, just to reiterate, as to whether something is a major chord and also a major scale. Now, it's also going to be one we know quite well, possibly just by trying to do chords, because it's the 1-3-5. So it's the same from a chord construction standpoint. Here's the third, major third, whether we're thinking about chord construction or scales. All right, so the major third, I can see it on the same string going up here. So if I go from here to here, 4 notes up, that makes sense. There's the sound of it. All right, get that in my ear, get that in my ear. I got to get that bug out of the fly out of my ear and the major third in my ear. And then we're going to go up top, get the wax out and the major third in. And then we're going to go up one. If I go up one, remember that if I go up a string, I have to look for the inverse distance. So therefore, if I'm looking at a 4-note away major third, the inverse would be 12 minus 4, which would be a 8-note away, which would be a minor 6 distance. So I have to look for 8 notes. So I'm going to go, okay, that's going to be -5 if I go up between the strings, -5, -6, -7, -8. So if I go from here to here, all right, that's going to be, top to bottom would be a 8-note away minor 6. But if I measure that from bottom to top, that's going to be a 4-note away major third, because if we think about the track here having 12 steps in it, if I go one way around the track and it's 4 steps, then I go the other way and it's a 12 steps track, it must be 8 steps if I did my math right. And I'm an accountant. That doesn't mean I do it right all the time because I'm dependent on Excel. So I'm not like a human calculator, or don't make no mistake. I am not a human calculator, but that's what I'm thinking. All right, let's go down a string. If I go down a string, I could see it right there. So wait a sec, let's just reiterate this in my mind. So that means that if I go up one string, the 4-note away major third is always going to be 1, 2, 3 frets back, unless I cross the fault line, and I'm only ever going to cross the fault line if I go up one string if I'm on the B string down here. So if I were on the B string, then I would cross the fault line, and because this tectonic plate shifted up during the earthquake to the right, shifted forward, that means that if I go up here, it's going to be a longer distance. Therefore, if I go up one string, the 4-note away major third is 3 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which only happens on the B string. If I only go up one string, then the 4-note away major third would be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back in that particular instance. Okay, so then let's go down here, going down a notch. So 4-note away major third. Now I can just count it out normally. This is 5. And then back here would be 4. We want to know that shape for sure. So we're here, we're going to go down 1, 5, and then back 4. So that means that the 4-note away major third is always, if I go down one string, is always 1 fret back, as opposed to the minor third, which would be 2 frets back typically, unless I cross the fault line. And if I cross the fault line, that could only happen if I only go down one string in one area. So like if I was right here, for example, on the G string, then if I went down, it would be on the same fret. Why? Because this tectonic plate shifted up. So if it was over here before, now it's going to be up one. So the rule is that if I go down one string, the 4-note away minor third is always going to be 1 fret back unless I cross the fault line, which only happens if I'm on the G string and then I go down one string, then the 4-note away major third would be on the same fret. Notice if I go down to this string, it would still be 1 fret back, because now even though this tectonic plate shifted forward, I'm on that tectonic plate, right? So it's not like the fault line is between these two notes. It's between these two notes. That's where the problem is. That's when you get lost, when you try to find the cafe and it's off grid because you're a block off because the fault line shifted the entire block up one, and now you can't get your coffee because I don't. Let's go to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one's going to be the one that's kind of even on both sides. So if I go down to, oh, I was thinking about something last night. I had like a thought, which is often dangerous, a dangerous thing to do. But, you know, like I was thinking, like we could think of this as going down one string, but we can also think of it as going up if I went around the horn. So let me just experiment with that. Like, so if I was going up and then I tried to go around the guitar that direction, what would happen? Let me just experiment live here. So we're going to say if I go up, it's 12 minus 4, which is an 8 notes away distance. So I'm looking for an 8 note away distance. If I go up 1, that's what I call -5. And now this string repeats here, at least if I'm thinking around going around in a circle. So that would still be like -5 right there. And then it would be like -10, and then like -15, and then 12. 15 minus 12 is 3. So it would be like -3, and then 3 plus, wait a sec, I went across the fault line. Let me do it again. It'd be -5, same thing, -10, and then I got to go across the fault line, which would be, which way am I going across the fault line? This way, which would be -15, and -15 minus 12 would be 3, plus 5 would be 8. You see? So I'm just saying we could, like I've been saying, we can't go past because we're out of strings, which is true. But in some cases, you might say it might be actually easier to count it around the horn, which we can do as long as we remember that this string and this string are basically the same string. So you're just gonna, so maybe I'll work that into our practice problem. That might be useful sometimes. It's okay. So for now, let's move on. We're gonna go down to here. So that's gonna be 5, 10, and then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 4 note away. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frets back, maximal distance that it can be if I can go both ways. And I can't reach it, of course, because it's just out of reach. So there it is. So that's the one that's just out of reach there. And that means that if I go down 1, 2 strings, then the 4 note away major third is always going to be 6 frets back unless I cross the fault line. Now I'm only going to cross the fault line. I could cross the fault line on 2 strings, here or here, right? Because if I was on this string, then I cross the fault line, but you can't see it right there. So let me go up forward. If I was on like this string and I went down 2 strings, I crossed the fault line. So it would be back here, and it would be the same if I was on this string. I'd still cross the fault line back here. So that means that the 4 note away major third, if I go down 2 strings, will always be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frets back unless I cross the fault line, in which case the tectonic plate shifts up. So it actually helps us out, and it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets back, which is actually a reachable distance. All right, let's pull this back on over here. And then just to experiment with this, what if I counted it around the top? I'd have to look for the inverse distance. So we're saying it would be 12 minus 4 is 8. So it would be -5, which repeats -5, and then -5, -10, and then the fault line here, I'm going to go up here to -15. 15 minus 12 is 3, and so -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, which is the inverse distance. So I just want to note that we can, if I want to tie this whole thing together, we can count it by going around the top of the fretboard, which might be a useful exercise. So I'm not sure exactly how it's useful right now, but I think it will be. So I'm going to maybe throw that in the mix. So let's go down another string. We're going to go down 3 strings. So now I'm going to say this is going to be 5, 10, and then the fault line goes this way. So up the fault line 15. 15 minus 12 brings us down to 3, and then 4. So I can count it over here on the guitar. I'm here, 5, 10, fault line 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, and then 4. So boom, boom. So that means if I go down 3 strings and I cross the fault line, then the 4-note away major third is going to be 2 frets forward. But if I don't cross the fault line, like, which would only happen like if I was up here, so then and I go down 3 strings, it would only be 1 fret difference. So that means that if I go down 3 strings, the 4-note away major third will be 1 fret forward unless I cross the fault line, which actually happens 2 out of 3 possible times here. 2 out of 3 possible times that I cross the fault line if I don't go around the horn again, in which case the 4-note away major third will be 2 strings forward. Now, interestingly enough, I could you could actually think of it as though you were here and then go down 4 strings and like not cross the fault line if I think about going around the horn, right? Which might just boggle my brain. But let me just, see what I'm saying? Like I could say like the fault line is above it here, and then if I went around the horn, I wouldn't hit the fault line again. So it would be like, I would be like 5 here, and then it repeats 5 up here, and then 10, and then, 5 up here, and then 10, 15. 15 minus 12 would be 3, and then 4. So you could actually think of it as though you went down 3 strings from here, but you'd go around the horn. And that's probably not the way most people would think of it, but if you can think of it that way, then I think we're getting a better grasp of the guitar. So maybe I just want to point that out. So anyways, let's go down to the next one. So we go down 4 strings. What if we went down 4 strings? Well, then normally, unless I go around the horn, I have to cross the fault line, so there wouldn't be any exception unless I'm crossing the fault, unless I go around the top. So it would be 5, 10, and then up here 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, plus another 5 is 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And we can also think about it. You can say, well, this string is the same as this string up top. So wouldn't it be easier for me to figure it up top, which I might just know the shape. And if I know the shape, then that's good enough for me to figure the bottom one too. If I don't know the shape, I can count it out by saying I have to pick the inverse distance. So a 4-note away major third has an inverse of 12 minus 4, which is 8. So it would be, this would be -5, 6, 7, 8. And that would match down here. So there is going to be that one. Now, it is possible that I measure from here and I go down 4 strings without crossing the fault line, right? Because if I go around the horn, because then I could go like 5, and then 5 would repeat up here, 5, and then 10, and then 15, and 15 minus 12 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So that's a really weird way to look at it, but again, if you can look at things from multiple angles, that's usually good. Like normally, what would you normally do? You would measure the inverse distance from here to here instead of going around the horn this way. But you could go either way. So because it's a circle and we're just all rotating around in circles, man. That's what we do all day long. All day long, circle, circle, circle. Then we get all upset about it. Why am I going around in circles? What else you gonna do? What else you gonna do? That's all anyone's doing, going around in circle. Okay, let it go. Let's go to the next one.